Welcome back to the skid factory. We've got 2 keen grommets, 1 bald grey woody, and we're ready to get this thing fired up. And stick around because we've got a giveaway. Since we left off, I've been doing a few little bits and pieces under the car just to get things ready for more filming with the grommets. They still have to go to school occasionally, so I've done some bush replacement. These lower control arm rear bushes, these are a big problem with a lot of cars really, not just Subarus. It's pretty common design. These bushes I got from Golebys, they're hard race. They're like an OEM STI bush, so they don't have a void in them like the original ones do. The void sort of takes a bit of the shock and noise and stuff out of using the brakes, and because it's bolted straight to the floor pan right under your feet, they will transfer a bit more road noise through. Probably not going to be a problem with the grommet. These will sort of give a stiffer feeling to the car, so I've gone with the harder ones. You can get nylon ones of these, but I strongly recommend you don't go there because they really aren't applicable to the way this bush works. Instead of it's a sort of a twisting bush rather than a rotating bush, so nylon just doesn't work. It needs to be rubber. You can either use genuine or use these ones if you want it to be a bit stiffer. I also replaced the rear, we call them dog bones. It's just like a lateral link on the rear. They wear out really bad, and that's one of the tyre wear problems. Again, I just replaced them with some bushes from Golebys. So they're all good to go. We've got a little bit of fiddling around to do with this rear end because this has got like headlight levelling system measures on it. So basically just going to put that whole back end in because it's got most of its bushes are in good nick except for those lateral links. But we just got to weld on a little bracket to hold the sensor for the headlight levelling, otherwise it'll probably have a spaz, but that shouldn't be a problem. I have also fiddled around with this transmission cross member. As we said, it doesn't bolt on because this whole assembly here is further forward on the manual cars and the 4-speed auto cars. It also, the back half of this cross member doesn't actually bolt up to here. So this is the auto cross member. I've just taken all the mount and everything off it, bolted it to the floor, and you can see there's like 100mm shortfall there. So in this case, all I've done is just cut a plate that's just got the bolt holes in it. It's actually, I should have done that with Martin's car when we did it, but didn't occur to me at the time. This cross member is a little bit different to his too. It was I think it was later model, so it doesn't have the boxed in sections. They've sort of cheapened it out a bit, and it was easy to add a piece and weld it in. But if you're doing this at home and you don't have the welders and all that sort of stuff, that's all you need. It's a pretty basic plate. It just bolts on there and bolts on there, and just 6mm steel. So pretty easy. We'll chuck some paint on that and bolt it back on. That's all done. I've also put the drive shafts and everything in the front there, all the original shafts out of this car. There's no difference between auto and manual. So all that's back together. Now we're going to pull out the struts and sort of put them aside, throw them away, and then we can pull the rear end out and get replacing all of that stuff, button up all the drive shafts, all that stuff, and then we can move on to some shiny stuff.
Put these grommets to work?
Get to work, grommets.
Oh, I'm just checking Instagram. Hang on a second.
Just charging his phone with his eyes.
Yeah.
CV joint will fall apart.
We're adjusting the height of the coilovers to bring it back to a suitable height. However, the front right strut wasn't playing ball and required some beefcaking to loosen the stubborn threads.
And they're the nuts there.
Keep jacking, keep going, keep going, keep going. Up. Do your back one up, actually.
See those stake marks? That means they never release the tension on the joint. That's what I'm doing. So it's notchy.
Harry, eyebrows?
The Grommets are back to school for a couple of days and they're on holidays, so once they've finished at school we'll get them back to bolt on some shiny stuff and maybe kick around a bit of welding practice on the exhaust and the intake. In the meantime, I've replaced the transcomputer with a clutch pedal. This actually bolts where the clutch pedal bolts. Just pull that out, unplug it, chuck it over your shoulder. The clutch pedal just bolts straight in. Just a couple of grommets to knock out of the firewall. Brake pedal, you've got to change to the thinner brake pedal, but just bolts in. It's literally one bolt, so it's all pretty straightforward. Added the hydraulics out here and just bled it up. It's all working sweet. The brakes we have not done yet. We're just waiting to get a set of rotors and pads from Golebys. They should be here tomorrow. Once we get them, we'll bolt them all on, and then I'm going to get the grommets to help me bleed the brakes just so they learn how to do it. It's always it's a thing that you learn how to do when you're a little grommet, because your dad's always yelling at you and you, up, down, up, what are you doing? Nothing, Dad.
Hold the torch.
All that stuff. It's yeah, when you have old junkers with drum brakes when you're a kid, you know all about that stuff, because it doesn't matter how long you bleed them, they never seem to work properly. We got, I made Well, I repaired the existing engine loom that was on this car. It wasn't great either, but it hadn't been eaten by rats. But all the plugs, that, like the clips on the plugs, had snapped off. It's just an age thing. Engine covers, that sort of stuff they put on modern stuff, it just really contains heat and cooks all the plugs. So I had a couple of other, both 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder engine looms, and just sort of mixed and matched and replaced most of them. There's a couple with a couple of clips broken off, but they should be good to go. I think they've been like that for years already. So we bolted that back on. I got a set of injectors from Golebys, they're 650cc, because we're probably going to run E85, or at least have the option of it, with a little adapter tag for the wiring. But I'm not going to put them in yet. I've just retained the standard injectors for the moment, because we're going to fire it up on the original ECU. Partly because I want to see how much it wigs out and how it wigs out. Just being, as soon as you remove the transmission computer, they tend to crack it. It'll probably start, but I don't think we'll be able to drive it very well. And secondly, although I've got this 2500 with the plug and play adapter, that will plug in to those plugs, but I've just found out that because this is a facelift, they've actually changed the pin out for the ECU. Even though it's the same engine harness, everything's the same, the pin out is completely different, and that's not uncommon. They certainly did that in the past, and evidently they still do it now. So I can't really use this without major changes to something else. So instead, I'm going to get a plug and pin kit and just chop all the wires off manually and pin them and put them straight to the ECU. Like I said, I don't know why they do this, but it's just a new year, new me thing or something. Maybe the engineer needs to justify his job, but yeah, completely changed. So this is for up to 06. The other thing that's a bit of a downfall with the post 06 is they don't have a return line at all. So if you're going to turbo it or anything like that, you might be in for some adventures with fuel supply. I didn't bother changing anything over on this because I don't think that's ever going to happen with this. But we'll just have to deal with it at the time if it does. So they're both returnless, but the regulator is actually just there, and it just returns. It's like semi-returnless, goes straight back. But this one, they put the regulator inside the fuel tank, and there's no return line at all. So if you want to mess around with one of these, you're probably better off looking for something that's pre-06, even though it's a bit older. They're basically the same car. So for now, we're just going to bolt on the inlet manifold, hook everything up, fill it up with oil, and probably fire it up.
Going to explain what you're doing, Alan?
I'm using upper engine cleaner. These things have a lot of trouble with carbon buildup. So this stuff's supposed to go in every service and properly, but it doesn't. So yeah, that's what causes them to ping. The compression ratio increases because they've got chunks of carbon on the pistons and can't control the detonation, and that's what damages things like head gaskets and bearings. So this one looks pretty clean actually, probably because it was thrashed mercilessly. Should we be proper bogans and start it up with no exhaust?
What, no headers? Straight out the ports of the head?
It's a rhetorical question.
What harm can that do?
None.
Apart from our ears?
Put Subaru spray all over the floor.
Do it.
You no go.
Will it not start at all, or is it because it's full of Subaru cleaner?
Probably Subaru spray. It's working perfectly.
I think the Hoff's Crusader sounds better.
The engine light's meant to be on, right? That means it's running.
That really sounds so bad.
It's a Porsche, bro.
That's a what?
Porsche.
Look at the Subaru cleaner in the air.
Just cleaning out my lungs as we speak. If you're wondering how bad an EZ30 sounds with no exhaust, now you know. We're waiting on some overnight parts from Toowoomba. Got a brake kit turning up. The Grommets are at school. They'll be finished tomorrow, and we'll be back to fit up all those brakes. But first, a word from our sponsor. Are you mesmerised by high-speed spinning things? Are you tempted to stick your fingers in when you know it'll end in injury or death? Well, here at the SKID factory, we're looking out for you. Introducing the new Don't Stick Your Fingers into High-Speed Spinning Things sticker. Add this cautionary sticker, thereby a high-speed spinning thing, to remind you not to stick your fingers in.
Available at https://www.theskidfactory.com.
Let's test it out. The Grommets are back from school. We got our brake kit from Golebys. It's time to sort out the brakes and then bolt on some shiny stuff. Just lever it, yeah, just so you can't do it fast. This is closing up here. That's where your two pistons are pushing on it.
Brakes are often overlooked when it comes to upgrading parts. Aftermarket slotted rotors and quality pads will maximise the efficiency and performance of the braking system. We've also upgraded the brake lines to braided items, which improves the pedal response and feel.
Down, up. So is the pedal hard now, like really hard?
Only goes down a little bit. Yeah.
So when there was air in the brake lines, you can compress the air, so that makes it all spongy and soft.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that hard like when you're driving it, because when we start the engine up, it's going to have, like the brake booster is going to have vacuum in it, and that's going to assist you to push the pedal. So it'll be more like probably the last time you drove it.
Cool.
All right, let's do exhausts. Brakes are all sorted, bled up well, everything fitted. Again, supplied by Golebys. They don't just do fast car bits, they do stop bits as well. We got some tyres from Paddy Shea's. They're Potenza RE003s. There's no Spono or any of that crap here. I just asked them what's a good tyre that's going to be grippy, etc., like good wear. And these ones actually come up trumps. They're actually a pretty good thing. So sometimes the hype is real. They're excellent value as well. They're actually cheaper than some of the lesser known brands. So they get the nod. They should work well. Now we're on to the exhaust. I've got the eBay headers here. I'm just going to show you why we're using these, because this is probably the worst thing about an EZ30 engine. The factory exhaust manifold is absolute rubbish. It was built with only one thing in mind, and that was making the catalytic converters light up really fast so it passes emissions. It has tiny internal runners. They're 30mm. We've just I've picked them out of this outer casing, so it's got sort of a multiple layered thing just to keep heat in, and we've just extracted them there. So you can see it's a terrible design, and that makes the engines ping. So they are already really high compression. You get bad fuel or you don't use good fuel. It doesn't matter if you use good fuel, they'll still ping because this is rubbish. So these headers will fix that. I think these are probably a rip-off of a design originally done by Tim from Raptor Superchargers in Australia. They look exactly like them. They just happened to come up when I was looking for an exhaust system on eBay, and these popped up, and I was like, oh sweet, I'll just buy them instead of making them, because it just makes things happen faster. So they'll do the job. They're actually pretty well made for an eBay thing. So we've got a catback we'll throw on, and then we just got to make the Y pipe section to go between these into a cat and into the catback system. The Grommets are keen to get on the welder, or maybe not too sure, but we'll get stuck into it. So you're starting on the thick base plate and working into the thin catalytic converter.
Like a pro, Gussie. It's better than some exhaust shops, mate.
Good mate.
A custom Y pipe is being made from a 90-degree mandrel that's been cut in half and welded together. A flared 3-inch pipe is then squashed in the vise to fit the mandrel in the centre. Some expert smashing and squashing with the hammer helps shape the pipe into place. A couple of well-placed nuts help to close the gap, which can then be finished off with the MIG.
What we're doing is fusing, so we're not using a filler rod or anything. You just got to make two things really well finished, close together, and you can fuse them together. Is it fusing?
Yeah.
There's nothing fast about TIG welding, so you just got to take your time.
The Grommets are given a quick lesson on TIG welding with some scrap stainless before attacking the exhaust system.
So that's pretty good there. You probably just backed it out a bit too much. So it is, you kind of, I know it's hard to see, but you kind of get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
But you'll just go through to here, start there, and just try and look at the metal itself and see what's going on. Practice is over, Grommets. Let's go.
Hang on, is there still a competition running between you two or not? Who does the better weld? What's the prize?
Harry gets to keep the car if he wins.
Oh, pink slips.
Welding for slips.
I'll shout one of you lunch.
Okay.
Alright. Nice, Grommet. They're growing. There's another grommet. Another one.
I don't think it's a whole one, it's like 1.5.
Oh, 1.5 of a grommet.
No, yeah, 0.5 I mean.
Are you grommets ready?
Yeah.
Ready to party?
Yeah.
Exhaust is all done. We had to fabricate a sort of a Y piece from the extractors to the catback. The catback is just for a turbo version of this 4-cylinder, so they just sort of connect it behind the standard header pipes. There's no Y piece available for these as far as I'm aware, so we just made it. It's 2-inch pipe. They had 2.25 inch flanges, but we just flared it up and went back down to 2-inch because that's what I had, and that's heaps big enough. So it all turned out pretty well. The Grommets did a bit of welding, did pretty good.
Who won the competition?
So it was Gus did blow a hole, but it was because he was welding one of those crappy pipes that crushes. But I think all in all, the winner was probably me. So I get the kebab. But good work, boys.
I'll just shout everyone kebabs. How about that?
That sounds mint. Everyone's a winner. So that's all done. I filled up the cooling system. It's just been sitting there. It's not leaking, so it's all good. We replaced all the hoses except these 2 top ones, which I replaced not very long ago when I put a new radiator in it. So it's all good to go. I think we're ready to fire it up. It's still got the factory ECU in it. It runs okay. It's got 1,000 fault codes, so it's almost like a Volkswagen. I will have to pin the Haltech in, but that's me sitting or kneeling on the floor for about 6 hours in the bottom of the footwell. It's not very much fun. It's not very easy to film. Probably not very interesting either. So I'm just going to do it when I get a chance. But it's going to run as it is. So Gussie, fire it up. Let's see how the eBay exhaust sounds. Oh, nose, what did you do? Righto, Chooch. How's the ting?
It's good, eh? Leave it running, leave it running. Give me a big round.
It's limiting. It's neutral limiting because it's... Oh, okay. Just leave it running. Bleed. Just keep it going up, down, up, down.
What do you reckon? Sounds good, eh? Good?
So I just want to go from idle, just big, just a stab, rev up, down, up, down. It's to bleed the cooling system. Yeah, just keep doing that. Sounds like a proper P-plater's car now. You can see the...
I thought you said you weren't going to make it loud.
You can see the harmonics in the exhaust tip. My one I put in a Gen 2, it sounded like there was a swarm of bees chasing you. It was awesome. There's this weird resonation.
You even watching what you're doing or not?
There you have it, we're 99% done. Still got a bit more to do. Intake pipe and wiring that Haltech. You can use the standard ECU and mess around with flashing and trying to get around some things, but that's not what we do here. We use Haltech, so that's what I'm going to do. We mentioned earlier that we were giving away a merch pack. All you got to do is like, subscribe and ring the bell, all that YouTube stuff, and leave us a comment. And in that comment, you got to tell us what you would build for your child's first car. And tell us why. We're going to get the Grommets to select which one they like the best, and you will win a merch pack if it's you.
Well, make sure you got to watch next week's episode to see if you win.
And or as if they're not going to watch.
Well, some people don't.
No, well, they'll have to if they want to win that merch pack.
That's it.
That's all we got. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Alan, you could go to open mic night and do some beat poetry about EZ30s and EZ.
EZ30 with a D. Yo. You feel me? EZ30 with an R. We got the AVCS. And the...
What's up with the busy street? Why's the Hoff stalking us again?
You know, there's like at least 3 V12 Hoffs worth of Commodores in this street. So what's that, 6 Commodores? 6 V6 Buicks.
That man.
You zoomed in now?
Yep.
Oh, that makes me so nervous, man.
Nicked. Finger broken.